What up, people? It's your man GQ, and I just got back from an epic 9,166 mile trip from New Orleans, Louisiana, all the way up to Anchorage, Alaska, and back. And I'm doing this video because I want to inform people about what it really takes to make this trip, so you don't make some of the same mistakes that I did, and I want you guys to become more informed when you're thinking about making a trip like this, because this ride is not a ride for everybody, and I'm going to give you my tips to help you get through this as best as possible and make an informed decision. So just talking about Alaska in general, why did I want to go? Alaska is just a beautiful place. I've done a lot of research looking at pictures and stuff, and it's always been a bucket list ride for me. So I was like, this was going to be the year for me to do it. Now, I didn't know that the Alaska highway was no freaking joke. When you talk about going to Alaska and the roads and stuff, people always mention the Dalton Highway, and the Dalton Highway is a beast. But I was under the impression that everything was nice, smooth, and paved, you know, up until you get to the point where you break off and go to the Dalton. No. And I'm gonna get into exactly what it's like. So this video is geared toward people who are taking this trip on baggers. So like your Indians, your Harleys, your Victories, you know, your BMW baggers, so on and so forth. ADV riders, guys who ride the GS series and Africa Twins and stuff like that, and Pan Americas, you shouldn't have a problem tackling this, because the bike is more equipped to handle some of the terrain and the things that you're going to go through. So this video is I'm talking to my bagger people right now. So let's just start off with the distance. So the Alaska Highway is about 1,390 miles, and it starts in Dawson Creek, British Columbia, and it goes all the way up to Alaska. But what a lot of people won't tell you, and I'm going to tell you because I literally just did it, it is some of the most unforgiving terrain that you will ever encounter on a motorcycle. You see, I got my other bike right here. My CVO is currently in the shop right now because it needs work done to it. I mean, new tires, everything. I put new tires on before I took this trip, and I need new tires again. That flat spots is just beat the hell up. So that's why it's not here right now. Why are the roads like this? So the roads, contrary to popular belief, they're not paved all the way because there's only so much time in a year where the people up there can work on these roads. You gotta think, everything is shut down. It's cold, it's frosted, it's frozen over. You can't do construction, and there's no daylight, whatever. So you only have about 4 or 5 months out the year where they can do this construction to do repairs and stuff like that. And they will tear the whole road apart. They're not going to leave cones out for you. They're not going to leave a paved lane for you. They're going to tear the whole thing down, because how bad the frost gets, it will break up that pavement every 1.5 to 2 years. I was talking to one of the guys, the construction workers. He said, yeah, we do this about, if we'll be lucky if it lasts 2 years.
So I heard that they have to constantly do it because of like the ice and the frost.
The frost heaves, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it breaks up the road pretty good.
Gotcha.
If we don't do this, then our roads will look like Beaver Creek on the other side.
Don't remind me.
So it's constant construction. Constant. So you're going to hit, it's not if, it's just when and how much construction that you go through. Along this route, and more so when you get toward Haynes Junction, Destruction Bay, in that area, that is when you're going to really start to encounter how bad these roads are. You're going to have miles of gravel. You're gonna have miles of dirt, potentially mud or mush or whatever you want to call it. They mix some kind of stuff together and put it down. You're gonna have graded bridges. The dust is insane, and if you don't know how to handle your bike, it can be really rough. If you can't straddle your bike comfortably at a standstill, you're gonna have trouble because there's a lot of just different things going on. Like, we were one stretch, it must have been about 18 miles, just gravel, straight gravel. And so you constantly going through it. But not only the gravel, you know, down here in the States on the highways, and you get too far to the edge, you get those rumble strips, you get that brrrr. So imagine that, but it's the entire roadway. So it's nothing but rumbling. But on top of that, you have gravel on top of that. So you're bouncing up and down, and your bike is moving side to side, and you're going through this gravel at the same time. Mentally, it takes a toll on you. You have to be mentally tough to make it through something like this. The dust is suffocating because you have a lot of traffic and construction, and you know you might be behind trucks and stuff for miles at a time, and so they're kicking up dust or they're kicking up gravel, rocks and stuff like that, and it's hitting you, it's hitting your bike. The smoke, not smoke, the dust is getting, you're breathing it in. It can be really, really rough. There'll be times where you have to stop because there's so much construction going on, and a pilot truck will come and get you and then escort you through the construction to the next part. And when you're on a bagger, it's hard to really get traction going because you don't want to spin out, you don't want to lose traction by going extra fast, but you have a ton of people behind you waiting on you. So we're just riding, not trying to go fast, but you feel that pressure of, man, I need to hurry and get to the other side because there are people behind me, they're waiting. You'll also encounter graded bridges, and not just like one or two. You're talking about like 6, 7 graded bridges. Some of them like football field and a half long, so 150 yards long. Like, it's it's something serious because with those big old bikes, those graded bridges really just take your bike wherever it wants to go. All you can do is gently hold on and take it easy so you can get across there. But I will say, with all of those things, the gravel, the dirt, and some of those roads are unmarked too. They'll tell you no road markings for the next 20 miles. But they do a great job of letting you know what's coming up. So they'll say, hey, reduce your speed, construction ahead, motorcycles, take caution, gravel for the next 30 miles, whatever. Like, they will warn you. So take heed to those warnings, and they will make sure that they let you know when a pothole is near, because you'll see these poles in buckets, and they have an orange flag on it letting you know that it's a big bump or a pothole, so you need to avoid those. Gas stops. So a lot of the things, you know, people talk about when you're going up that far, I don't want to run out of gas. If you're riding a bagger and you have at least a 6-gallon gas tank, it's very hard for you to run out of gas. I will say this, do not pass up gas stops, but it's really hard for you to run out of gas. My suggestion is, when you're plotting your route for that day and you're going from, let's say, Haines Junction to Tok, Alaska. You know how that distance, you're going to see the different towns and villages along that way, and some of them have gas stops. Plot your gas stops out. Plot how much, I know on my bike I can get at minimum 200 miles to the tank. So if I'm looking, I'm going to plot from here to here, even if it's not taking the whole 200, if it's 150, I'm going to stop and fill it back up and keep going as needed. So I'm going to stop every so often, and I'll leapfrog my way to the end. As far as the gas quality, most of them are they have regular, but they do have premium. I was surprised to see 91, which is the base that you can put in these baggers for the majority of the trip. Now I maybe put regular in there like once or twice, but I already had premium in there, so it kind of just diluted it a little bit, so it wasn't too bad. So you don't really have to have any concerns about running out of gas. As long as you're not flying through there, like just speeding like crazy and missing gas stops, and you have at least a 6-gallon gas tank, you'll be okay. Now, these pumps, gas stops, they're all gravel as well. So be careful when you're pulling in and pulling out those gas stops, because you can lose traction as well. And you have to, in some instances, leave your debit card or an ID at the in the convenience store section in order for you to get gas. So you lift up the handle, you get your gas, it relays to them how much it was, and then you pay for it right then and there. You know, just to prevent people running off with gas and stuff like that. But didn't have a problem. It was pretty, you know, straightforward ordeal. Communication. You will be without cell phone service for the majority of that stretch of highway, from, let's say, right after Haynes Junction all the way up to pretty much you get to Talk. It'll be spotty in a minute. You won't get 5G, you'll be in 4G until you get to pretty much Anchorage, if you go that way. But I don't suggest that you take this trip by yourself, because there's too many different variables out there. I suggest you go with one other person. If you do decide to go by yourself, that's fine, but I just think that safety wise it's better for you to go with another person. If you do not have a headset communicator, I suggest that you get one. And do I have mine with me? Where's my helmet? Just 1 second. Alright, so like I was saying, I suggest that you have a headset communicator on your helmet, and if you're with somebody, pair up with those people so you can use the intercom feature to communicate with them. This was huge. So I'm rocking, I got the Cardo Pack Talk. This is the Pro. I also have the Harley-Davidson version. I brought both of these with me because I wanted to have maximum uptime. Maximum uptime, because you're running this the entire time and you're talking and you're communicating road conditions and stuff like that. Like I can say, hey, don't take this line that I'm in because it's a little squirrely right here. You know, go to the left, so on and so forth. Or, you know, it's just so many things going on. You need to be able to communicate with each other. I brought two and I kept them charged the whole time. Now, when we're talking about charging and stuff, if you, and this strictly for my Harley-Davidson people who are riding the 2023 and a half, the newer style bikes, you have to remember you do not have the same amount of charging capabilities that you had on the 23 and down versions of that motorcycle. Meaning, you do not have a cigarette lighter. Now, majority of us, we're not using a cigarette lighter to light cigarettes and stuff like that. Or at least I never did. We all, for the most part, used it to plug in our phones or different type of accessories. You use the cigarette lighter to USB, you know, things like that. You do not have that anymore. So you have to be very creative in how you charge stuff like that. And that is probably one of the Achilles heels of the new style bike, because it was very rough trying to make sure that I kept everything charged constantly. You know, I would make sure I charge everything at night, but sometimes you need to charge stuff on the go. I want to make sure I have my phone charged. If you got a backup phone, your cordos and things like that. I used to be able to run a wire from that cigarette lighter and just plug it straight into the back of my headset so it doesn't die. What I did was I ran, and I wish I had my bike here with me so I could show you guys. But I ran a SAE, which is your battery, your trickle charger port. I ran that. I ran a dual USB from that trickle charger underneath the tank, and I had it like come right in front of the tank, and I was able to use those two USBs to charge various things at the same time. Maybe my GoPros or whatever the case I needed to charge. Another thing, speaking of charging, and I'm gonna get to. Hold on, let me. I don't want to get past myself. Let me see where I'm at. Yep. So the weather in the gear, and I'm gonna get back to the charging point. Speaking of the weather in the gear, it can get very cold up here. It can get cold some mornings, and this is when we were up there like June 19th, 20th, something like that. The lowest temp we got was like 31 degrees when we left out in the morning. Some of the highs would be 60. You should have different gear with you. You should have a hoodie, you should have a light riding jacket, and you should have a heavy riding jacket. I used this Quest riding jacket from Harley-Davidson, well, riding suit, because I got the pants too as well. And it did me well because it's rainproof, and you know it does well with cold, and it's armored as well. Plus it got a lot of pockets. I was keeping a lot of stuff in there. So the majority of the time I was up there, I rode in this Quest suit. If it got really cold, I put on my heated jacket liner, or my heated liner underneath that, and I was perfectly fine. Only when it was like 50 and below, I needed to plug in. But outside of that, if it was above 50, like 55, 56, maybe 60 degrees, I didn't need to turn it on. But it's always good to have a nice base layer. So speaking of the charging part that I was just talking about, very, very important as well for the people who ride 23.5 Harley-Davidsons and up. The new style bikes, once again, I wish I had my bike to show you, they have heated gear plugs underneath the seat. So for me, I'm like, cool, I'll use that, and that'll free up my SAE to do other stuff. Wrong. These wires and the wire underneath your seat, the heated gear wire, it is not long enough to connect. So I could have been crap out of luck if I didn't bring, where is it, this extension cable. So I did the SAE, which is my trickle charger, to my coaxial input, and I was able to use this so I can use my heated gear. Please make sure that you are able to test your heated gear. Make sure you have the proper links to make sure everything is plugged up and working. I just assumed, and that's my fault, being transparent, that it was long enough to reach. So when I went to plug it, I'm like, wait, there's no way in the world this thing don't fit. Like, it's not long enough. That is definitely not good. That is not cool. But they do, most of these heated gear, they come with the battery terminal extension wire. So they do come with an extension, but I'm thinking I could just plug straight in because that it's there for that reason. So make sure that you bring your extensions with you. What's next? I'm getting hot out here, y'all. Sorry about that. So lodging. There's plenty of lodging along that route, along the routes that you're going to. Make sure, just like when you do your gas stops, you plan where you're going to stop and get you in a hotel or motel along the way. There ain't no Hiltons and Marriotts, so Sometimes you gotta get in where you fit in, and they fill up super fast. Book the night before, not during the day, not toward the evening. Book the night before where you're gonna go. Know your gas stops and know where you're gonna sleep that evening, because you'll be scrolling and then it'll just say sold out. That happened to me. So I had to go to another hotel which had one room left, a motel, and had one room left. Don't be stuck out like that. Okay, just a word of advice. Some of those places have restaurants attached to them. Some of them are good. Some of them are really not good. It's just, hit or miss. Wildlife. So I want to be very, very honest and transparent. There is a lot of bear, moose, bison, rabbits, mountain goats all along the route, and they will just be out and about. They will be out and about. Make sure you're mindful of when you're traveling. Early in the morning and late, toward the good part of the evening, like 8 o'clock, 7, 8 o'clock. That's when they're super, super active. Don't be flying through there, because you don't want to hit one of those things. They're huge. It's not a regular deal. Like, these things are super, super big, right? Also, make sure that your bike is tip top, because you don't want to break down while you're out there, because once again, you're in bear, moose, whatever country, and if you're sitting on the side of the road, you sitting ducks, and those animals have free reign at you. So if you got to pull over, make sure you do what you got to do as quickly and efficiently and safely as possible, and keep it moving. Okay? Don't linger around. If you have to stop or whatever, like I say, stop. If you see animals at a distance or whatever, make sure you're monitoring them at that time, at that distance, and just seeing what they're doing, so you can make an informed decision where you need to hurry up and go or not. I literally saw a bear just looking up at me as I rode by. So keep you some bear mace on hand just in case. And that's another reason. Just make sure that your bike is super service, is running tip top, fresh tires, fresh oil, fresh everything to make that trip, because you definitely do not want to break down out there, because it's hard to get to you. GPS or location apps. A lot of people, you're not going to be able to be in contact with them a lot of the time because of the cell service, but as long as that GPS is active, you should be okay. So apps like Glimpse, apps like Life 360, other location tracking apps, make sure you send those out to your loved ones, so they know where you are, how you're traveling, so on and so forth, and check in with them when you finish or when you get done, so they know that you're safe and sound, because once again, you are really out there in the wilderness. Now, once you get there, once you make it through, and in some spots while you're going through the Alaska Highway, it is some of the most beautiful, just views that you will ever see in the United States, in the world, to be honest. The mountains are crazy. The views are crazy. It's definitely worth the trip. Will I go back on a bagger? No. But this is just me, and this is just my opinion. But can it be done? Yes. Will I do it again? Yes, but on an adventure bike like a Pan America or something like that. This is the only place. Look, this thing, let me tell you about this. So, this shirt says Alaska Highway Survivor. You can only get this shirt at 2 spots along the Alaska Highway, and it's between 2 of the toughest and roughest spots on the Alaska Highway, and it is so true. You don't just make it through, you survive the Alaska Highway. That's all you do. You survive it. You don't go through it. You literally survive it, because it is definitely rough. And I wanted to just give you guys this is just me, personal opinions on it. If you need to go during the, like, whatever, if you need to go to Alaska on whatever bike, try to go later on in the season, around like late September, early August or something like that, where the majority of the construction and repairs are already complete. You definitely don't want to go through all of that construction and stuff, because it is freaking miserable. I'm not gonna even lie. That was so miserable. Miserable to the point where once we got there to Alaska, we saw a couple of things. We went to Anchorage. It's like, you know what? It's time for us to go, because we have to ride back through all of that stuff. It was very, very, very taxing on your mental. So I just want to give you guys those tips. I'm currently working on the full video from that trip. So y'all stay tuned and make sure y'all like, share, and subscribe to this channel. And this is your man GQ, the leader of the Peace Army, telling you guys to be safe, be cool, and most importantly, be you. And peace out until we meet again.